Sarah Plain and Tall, Chapter 8. The rain came and passed, but the strange clouds hung over in the northwest, low and black and green. What happens when the sky turns green? Okay. The air grew still. In the morning, Sarah dressed in a pair of overalls and went out to the barn to have an argument with Papa. She took apples for old Bess and Jack. Women don't wear overalls, said Caleb, running along behind her like one of Sarah's chickens. This woman does, Sarah said crisply. Papa stood by the fence. I want to learn how to ride a horse, Sarah told him. And then I want to learn how to drive the wagon by myself. Jack leaned over and nipped Sarah over Sarah's overalls. She fed him an apple, and Caleb and I stood behind Sarah. I can ride a horse. I know it, said Sarah. I rode once when I was 12. I will ride Jack. Jack was Sarah's favorite. Papa shook his head. Not Jack, he said. Jack is sly. Oh, I'm sly too, said Sarah stubbornly. Papa smiled. Are ya? He said, nodding. But not Jack. Yes, Jack. Sarah's voice was very loud. I can teach you how to drive a wagon. I have already taught you how to plow. And then I can go to town by myself. Say no, Papa, whispered Caleb beside him. That's a fair thing, Sarah, said Papa. We'll practice. A soft rumble of thunder sounded. Papa looked up at the clouds. Today we can begin today? Asked Sarah. Tomorrow is best, said Papa, looking worried. I have to fix the house roof. A portion of it is loose, and there's a storm coming. Said Papa. We have to fix the roof. What? We have to fix the roof, said Sarah. I've done it before. I know about roofs. I am good carpenter. Remember? I told you. And then there was thunder again, and Papa went to get the ladder. Are you fast? He asked Sarah. Oh, I'm fast, and I am good, said Sarah. And then they climbed up on the ladder of the roof, and with Sarah's wisp of hair around her face and her mouth full of nails, overalls like Papa, overalls that were Papa's, Caleb and I went inside and closed the windows. We could hear the loud, steady sound of hammers pounding on the roof overhead. Why does she want to go to town by herself? Asked Caleb. To leave us? I shook my head, weary with Caleb's questions. Tears gathered at the corners of my eyes. But there was no time to cry, for suddenly Papa called out, Caleb! Anna! We ran outside, and a huge cloud, horribly black, was moving toward us over the north fields. Papa slid down, helping Sarah after him. A squall, he yelled. And he held us up in his arms, and Sarah jumped off the porch roof. Get the horses inside. Get the sheep, Anna, and the cows, and the barn is the safest. The grasses flattened, and there was a hiss of wind, and suddenly a pungent smell. All our faces looked yellow in a strange light. Caleb and I jumped over the fence and found the animals huddled in the barn. I counted the sheep to make sure that they were all there and herded them into the large stall. A few raindrops came in gentle at first, and then stronger, and then louder. So Caleb and I covered our ears and stared at each other without speaking. Caleb looked frightened. I tried to smile at him. Sarah carried a sack into the barn, her hair wet and streaming down her back. Papa came behind them, Lottie and Nick with him, their ears flat against their head. Wait, cried Sarah, my chickens! No, Sarah, Papa called after her, but Sarah had already run from the barn into a sheet of rain. My father followed her. The sheep nosed open their stall and milled around the barn, bleating. Nick crept under my arm, and a lamb, Maddie, with the black face stood close to me, trembling. There was a soft paw on my lap, and then a gray body. Seal. And then there was thunder pounded, and the wind rose, and there was a terrible crackling of lightning close by, and Sarah and Papa stood in the barn doorway, wet to the skin. Papa carried Sarah's chickens. Sarah came with an armful of summer roses. Sarah's chickens were not afraid. They settled like small red bundles into the hay. Papa closed the doors at last, shutting out the storm and the sounds of the storm. Shutting out some of the sounds of the storm. The barn was eerie and half-lighted, like dusk without a lantern. Papa spread blankets around our shoulders, and Sarah unpacked a bag of cheese and bread and jam. At the very bottom of the bag was Sarah's shells. Caleb got up and went over to the small barn window. "What color is the